What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to PlayStation Generation episode 34. My name's Matt, and I'll be your host for today's event. I'm joined as oh my god, I just made myself cough. Just choked on myself. I'm joined, as always, by the wait, crap. Hold on.
Oh, you wrote this down from last time, didn't you?
Hold on.
Let's see what he goes with.
The heavy browser, Daniro-kun. What's up, Danny?
What's going on, man?
How are you, buddy?
American Thanksgiving.
Happy American Thanksgiving to you too, and to all of the American folks out there listening. We hope you are eating all the foods, celebrating with friends, family, doing whatever you need to do. And if you're by yourself, well, we're here to hang out with you instead. How you doing, my dude? How's the week? How's the week been?
It's been a good week. I've learned my new coping mechanism for stress is copious amounts of Mountain Dew.
And Call of Duty, which you infamously said was your very chill, relaxing game.
Oh yeah, that too. Lots of Call of Duty. lots of Call of Duty.
Hell yeah! Well, that's good. I'm happy. I'm happy you found your zen spot with Mountain Dew.
I'm turning into one of those gamer bros. All I need is some Doritos.
Yeah, seriously, and just some chopsticks to eat them with, so you don't get the thing dirty. You know. On this week's show, we're going to be talking about the rumors about the new PlayStation handheld. We're going to talk some PlayStation Plus. We're going to talk some Star Wars Outlaws and a whole lot more. So strap in and prepare thyself for an evening full of fun. But before we do all that, Danny, my dude, what have you been playing? What's been keeping you busy lately?
Okay. So Black Ops 6, obviously, still. Plugging my way through God of War. As of right now, I was literally playing it before we got on. I'm like 80% done.
Okay.
So we're almost there. We're near the end. The goal is to finish it this weekend.
Getting there.
And because I finally have a PlayStation Portal, I have been spending a few nights before bed just finishing up a few games like Crisis Core Reunion.
Okay. So tell me this. You got the Portal.
Yes.
How did this come about? What swung you?
It was just too good of a deal, man. Yeah. I found it in the clearance section of my local Walmart.
Hell yes, dude.
It was $129.
That is absolutely friggin' ridiculous.
And the only reason why they put it there is because someone had literally opened the box, like the outer box. Someone had cut the seal off, and everything else inside was perfect.
So I'm wondering if somebody had like bought it and returned it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Like, I bet you anything they bought it and someone told them like, "Oh, you need a PS5 to play it or something," and then they probably brought it back, be like, "I can't use this." See,
and I'm just gonna be honest here, and in my schemes not scams kind of brain here, I'm like, what? Because then after you told me that, you better believe right after work, I was like, babe, I think we got to go to Walmart. I think we just got to roll through real quick and just take a peek, take a look-see, And I spent some time wandering around and looking because I didn't even realize that there was like a electronics clearance section. It's like hidden away at the end of one of the aisles on the thing.
It's like an end cap, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's an end cap. Yeah. So I was like, I wonder, and it wasn't there. But I was thinking, I was like, and I know it's probably unethical, and I probably know it's not the right way to do it. But I'm like, what if I bought one,
returned it,
opened the box, returned it? Would it end up back on the shelf? And I'm not saying I will do this. I'm not saying I would, but just hypothetically, I was just running through the motions in my mind.
Oh yeah.
What would be the theoretical way to go about doing this? And would that be okay? Forget the ethics of it. Just would it be logistically possible? Could this fly? You know what I mean?
Can I tell you an answer?
Yeah. You know the answer?
I know the answer.
Tell me the answer.
It would work.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. So I'm not proud of this.
Tell me.
But this was a very, very, very long time ago.
At least 11 days ago.
I was gonna say 3 days ago, but whatever. I went back. No,
I gave you more grace.
No. I went and bought like an Xbox controller for my PC, and I didn't buy like a first party one. I bought one of those like third party
Mad Cats
PvP ones. Yeah, whatever, Mad Cats. And after using it for like 2 months, it just stopped working. So I
know where you're going with this.
Right. I went in and I bought another one. And then I was just mad, Yeah, I did a little switcheroony, but I didn't But I didn't go and get a refund.
No.
I went and exchanged the dead one for another one, pretending it was the new one. It's like, oh, I want a different color.
Mhm.
I had 2 of them.
It's so funny because my parents used to do that shit all the time growing up. Where if something like a piece of something broke, like let's say
Mhm.
they had like a vacuum and for whatever reason like a certain thing didn't work or whatever, they'd go and buy a new one, take the piece out, take it back, and be like, "This thing's missing," and just return it. And I feel like that's just like my Polish immigrant parents were like, you know what? We don't have much money, and we're gonna game the system when we need to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. I wonder, like, I'm trying to work out the timing. Being like, if I returned it, would it be there later that day? Would it be there the next day? Would it be there 2 days for you know what I mean? And again, this is all
Uh,
purely hypothetical, purely theoretical.
this is why you put an air tag in it, like, deep, 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 you know?
But would it recognize like where it is in the store? Is
Yeah,
it that
oh, it
granular?
it's really precise,
That is hilarious.
like, to the meter.
That's
AirTags are
ridiculous.
that precise because it uses the location of everyone else's iPhone, and let's be real, if you go into a Walmart, there's hundreds of iPhones.
Yeah, there's at least a one.
Yeah, so it'll use that to triangulate the signal of the iPhone to triangulate the position of the AirTag.
Dude, schemes not scams, man. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
This I don't know. If a PlayStation Portal, if I start talking about it suddenly in the next little while, not saying I did it, not saying I didn't do it. I saw the 30th anniversary one pop briefly again
Mhm.
yesterday, and I was like, no, I can't. And then I was literally like 2 minutes later,
Because
I
you
was
have
like,
no PlayStation anniversary peripherals at all. Yeah, I see it. I also see the other one behind you.
okay, hold on. This one is unopened. This is for one of my best friends who
Uh-huh.
couldn't cop one, so I'm giving it to him. That one is
Nice.
the one I opened.
Very
So
cool, and
I will own up to that.
yeah, okay.
But anyways, well, I'm glad. So how is the portal? How is the portal so far? Like in terms of latency, in terms of feel, because like I like this. I love my Steam Deck. I love it
Yeah,
immensely. But I feel
yeah.
like because of just the weight of it, it gets a little weighty sometimes, especially if I'm like
It's
holding it.
it's deceptively light for me
Okay,
in terms
you're
of
just
weight
that
because
jacked, swole,
be
swole hands.
right? No, no, it's like, it really is a PS5 controller with the world's thinnest LCD on it, like, or screen on it.
Uh huh.
Like, so it feels white, like, it's light, and it feels kinda weird because 'cause you're just like, you're not used to, like, holding it like this. Well, I'm not,
Hmm.
right? The closest thing I have to compare to it is my Switch,
Hmm.
and I think it feels actually lighter than my Switch, which
Well, it
is gonna
probably
have the
has
old
like
one.
less internals. I'd imagine if all you're doing is like throwing in a Wi-Fi chip essentially to let it connect to the internet.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Latency's been good. I've done both the, like, streaming from my PS5 or remote play to my PS5, and I've
Mhm.
done the new, like, game streaming from it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's been great. I have had no complaints. I've used it in different parts of the house. So my PS5 is in the basement, and I can go, like, up to the main floor or the second floor, and it's smooth. The only time I've had a little bit of, like, visual artifacting or visual glitching because of the speed or the latency was
Mhm.
when I played something like Sonic Generations on it, just because of, like, how
Sure, a
fast
lot
it
going
was.
on. Yeah,
Yeah. But, like, if
and
I'm playing Final Fantasy or if I'm playing, like, even NHL 25, it's been smooth.
damn. Okay, all right. I'm happy to hear that. I've heard good things.
Yeah.
Have you done any testing outside of the house yet?
No, actually, I'm going into the office tomorrow.
Okay,
So I'm gonna be about 50 miles from my house.
okay.
So the plan is I'm gonna try it on our in our office Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
and I'm even gonna try and hotspot from my phone
Excellent.
and
Hell
see
yeah.
how it works. Because for me, now that it's doing the game streaming without needing to connect to a PS5, how easy would this be to pull out and, like, hotspot to your phone at a bus station or an airport or, while you're shopping with the missus at the mall, right? So,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm really curious about.
yeah.
I'm curious as to how strong of an internet connection is your PS5 hardwired. Is it your PS5 hardwired? Is it Etherneted in?
No, it's not hardwired.
Okay, and you still had smooth experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. Very happy to hear that. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad your game journeys are continuing to go well. As for myself, I've been continuing on with Dragon Age.
Mhm.
I'm still enjoying it. I've hit the point where I've heard from a lot of people that like it gets a lot better from here on out. So I'm excited to keep going with it. I just haven't had a ton of time to play lately. Things have just been a little busy.
Yeah.
But I'm still enjoying it. Like I've started to put together like my GOTY lists and stuff.
Mhm.
And like spoiler alert, I don't think it's gonna crack my top 10 because of just how strong this year was.
Yeah.
But I'm still enjoying it. You know what I mean? It's like for me thus far, it is a good game. It's not a great
Mhm.
game. It's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a good game and it looks
Yeah.
really pretty on the pros. So like I'm planning on finishing it, continuing on with it. But yeah, like so far so good. I'll see how I feel because again, a lot of what I've heard is the next couple of like parts of it
Mhm.
is when it really kicks into high gear. So I'm curious to see how that continues to pan out. But yeah, so far so good. I'm enjoying it.
I
I'm
look
having fun
forward
with it.
to hearing your thoughts as you progress.
Yeah, I'll let you know more next week. So stay tuned for that. All right, my dude. Let's get into some news because we have a
Let's
bunch of
go.
stuff to get through. Surprisingly, there was quite a little bit of news that came out here this week. Let's kick things off. Let's start with some PlayStation Plus. Let's break down some PlayStation Plus for the month of December because coming from the PlayStation blogs themselves, we got our essential monthly games. We're getting It Takes Two, Aliens, Dark Descent, and Temtem. It Takes Two is hitting on both PS4, PS5. Aliens both across both as well, and Temtem is the PS5 version. And then they also went on because it's December with the 30th anniversary stuff going on. There's a new game trial for Warhammer Space Marine 2. Catalog classics are getting hits of Sly 2, Sly 3, and the OG Jack and Daxter. So that is just a little sneak peek of what's to come. They're doing a free online multiplayer the weekend of the 6th. So if you don't have PlayStation Plus and you want to play with your friends online, that's the weekend to do it. Some more tournaments going on, and then you can also win 30 months of PS Plus Premium, but I don't think that's eligible in Canada. No, it's not. So forget that then. And of course, for the Sony Pictures Core diehards out there, for the real
I,
fans,
I
um,
canceled my Netflix for this.
there. That's a good point. That's a good point. You can get 30% off of stuff there. Yeah. Anyways, how are you feeling about this month, my dude? How are you feeling about this essential drop?
I like it. I mean, I'm excited to play It Takes Two. I've seen a lot of it, but I've never played it. Um, so I'm ready to dive into that. Aliens. I don't know too much about this one.
I don't either.
It's a real time combat strategy game. Interesting.
Hold on. Is this like an XCOM type thing?
I think so.
Hold on. I'm gonna look into this real quick
Yeah, I'm
because
looking into it too.
if this is an XCOM type thing, then
It is a tactic game. Yep. Yep. Oh,
my hype gets considerably higher.
yeah. This definitely looks like some sort of RTS game.
But is this like RTS like StarCraft or is this RTS like
Tactical game. Oh,
I'm
I'm gonna
curious.
say
Okay.
it sounds kind of like StarCraft.
I'm curious. I'm more curious now than I was before. When I thought this was like a straight up like shooter or horror game, because that's the
Like,
kind of vibe it gave up.
yeah.
I was less inclined. But yeah, go on.
No, I don't know if I will try it. I think I'm most excited for It Takes Two, and I'm just glad with more PS2 classic games.
Mm-hmm.
For any premium users, like this is great because I don't know. I loved playing my PS2, and to have these come back, it's just a nice breath of nostalgia.
It is. I think for me, It Takes Two is fantastic. Like one of the best games of the last number of years.
Yeah,
My wife again is not a massive gamer, but
yeah.
we played this together and she
Actually,
loved it.
I agree. This is the same reason why I want to do it. I want to try and get my wife into this.
Outside of one specific section, and all I'm going to say, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, Denny. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts once you get here.
Mm.
But there's a section involving a stuffed elephant, and that's all I'm going to say.
Oh God.
And it lives in my brain for
Rent
all of
free?
the wrong reasons.
Oh no.
The gameplay and creativity on display here is fantastic. I think the story is hot garbage. And that one specific section, you'll see what I mean when you get there. But for anybody who's played it, I'm sure you will know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. Temtem is great. I actually reviewed this back when it hit PS5.
Oh yeah.
I really like this game. It's like a Pokemon like, but it's also online entirely. So you see other folks running around. It's all double battles, and they actually like combo in different ways, in ways that Pokemon doesn't. So
Oh.
it's really cool. The developers actually just put out like something called Temtem Swarm, which is like a MOBA like. They kind of moved on to the next project.
Mhm.
But Temtem's really cool. To get it for free, hop in and take a look. I really enjoyed my time with it. So for more people to kind of being able to hop in and experience it, Temtem's a good time. Again, not anything that will like blow you away by any stretch of the imagination, but it's fun. If you like Pokemon like games, if that is your wheelhouse, not a bad way to go.
Cool.
Let's roll on to the next story, my friend, because let's go to this one. Coming from VGC, written by Jordan Midler. Star Wars Outlaws removing stealth from almost all quest objectives. Star Wars Outlaws controversial stealth sections are being changed. The game, which was released earlier this year, initially featured several sections where players would receive a game over screen if they were spotted by an enemy, even if they had a chance to escape without an alarm being raised. This was met from backlash from players and critics. However, the new game, the game's creative director is saying they're being changed. Player choice has always been a core focus of Star Wars Outlaws, but after listening to your feedback, we realized there's more we can do to give you even greater freedom. So the restrictions like do not raise the alarm or don't get caught in quests were forcing players into stealthy playstyles, limiting the ability to choose whether to use combat or not. As a result, some quests could feel frustrating or unfair. He basically goes on to say that they are being taken out. This is absolutely fantastic. The forced stealth in this game was one of my biggest issues with it because
I
it
remember.
genuinely felt like fucking like mid 2000s bullshit. It was awful. And like again, there were sections where like you got seen by one guy from like 100 meters away and game over. And like the checkpointing was so brutal that like you could have been deep into this stealth section and it kicks you all the way back to the beginning and you're redoing all of that and praying that these guards don't see you. So the fact that they're changing this, I hope for new players coming to this game will have a much more enjoyable experience, because for me it genuinely was one of my biggest issues with Star Wars Outlaws. So I'm really, really happy that they're taking these out because that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I think it was a previous episode when you guys, like you, Rice, and Court were talking about this game. I think the general consensus was it was a good game, but things like this really held it down. But I feel like don't developers like test games like how they do what's
Like
it
play
called?
testing and
Like play
betas
testing, user testing, right? Like audience testing or whatever. Like don't they get that kind of feedback and then people are like, "Hey man, your stealth missions suck."
You would think that, especially given a company as big as Ubisoft and a developer as big as Massive, that they would, have like either they knew and they kind of thought maybe this isn't going to be that big of a deal. And then again, it was one of the most common complaints levied at this game.
Mhm.
That like I'm glad that they're doing something about it. I'm glad that they're taking it out because I think this will really help smooth the edges off of some frustrating sections. Because
Mhm.
like there were so many times where I was just like, I just want to blast my way out of this.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
totally.
there's like 3 guards here. I know I can take them and move on. But I'm happy this is the change that they're making. And at least they're listening.
Yeah, which
Um,
is good.
which is great. I can't remember the last time that we've had a game flat out change like core tenets of some of its missions because of backlash. Like I feel like usually it's one of those situations where like it is what it is, like the game is what it is, but I can't remember the last time like a game backpedaled this significantly on like one of its core mission structures.
You know what? I feel like the last time I remember anything like that was I remember this is gonna sound stupid, but I remember Burnout Revenge got a lot of criticism.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, just the fact that you couldn't restart a race or a mission, so they like gave you an option to like restart now from the menu instead of like
Sure.
driving back because it was an open world thing. But I feel like maybe the last big one may have been like Diablo 3.
Maybe. Yeah,
That
with
was
like
that was a long time
with the
ago.
auction house.
Exactly.
I think that's a good call. It could have been Diablo 3, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I again, Star Wars Outlaws, it's too I honestly think it was just too hated on. I think it launched in a year filled with incredible experiences.
Mhm.
Um and a 7 out of 10 just wasn't good enough.
Yeah. No,
But hopefully more people find it now.
it's been a good year for games.
It's been a
Not every game,
ridiculous.
but Been a
Not
good
every
year for
game.
games.
It's been a good year for games. Let's roll into our next story, coming once again from VGC. Coming from Tom Ivan, a black version of the PlayStation Portal is reportedly coming soon. Sony released a new PlayStation Portal colorway. It's claimed. This is coming from D Labs, who has like leaked a bunch of stuff PlayStation accurate before, including PlayStation Plus titles. There's also apparently DualSense Edge controller, Pulse Elite wireless headphones, and the Pulse Explorer wireless headphones. Apparently, they are all set to be coming in black. There's also rumors of a Helldivers themed PS5 controller. So just more colors are coming. Not gonna lie, a black, like an all black PlayStation Portal, that might be real nice.
Yeah. Especially when you just bought one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now you're like, fuck.
To be fair, for $130, I would take whatever color they want to give me.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think it would look cool, but I don't know. It's interesting because like I don't know if maybe this is not an average gamer thing, but there's already a market for reshelling everything.
You know what though? I'm so anxious about doing that. I have thought about doing that for the Steam Deck and for like my like for this what's it called, for like controllers, to like buy the shells and like get like the like the classic atomic see-through ones. Like that I still like this atomic green see-through N64 I have here.
Yeah.
Like I would love to do that to the Steam Deck. It fills me with so much anxiety. Like what if I do something wrong? You know?
It'll happen. But
it will?
From it. No, it won't happen. So no. So you know what? I at a very long, like again, I used to work for a cell phone company, and what I used to do on the side was reshell broken phones. Right. So someone would come with their BlackBerry and they like crack the screen or something, and they would go and buy like the shell off eBay, and I just charge them like $20 and just put it all in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as bad as you think if you take your time. It's when you start to get like anxious or impatient.
Right.
Because I've done that.
Traits I'm famously not known for.
Guilty as well. I actually just yesterday I destroyed a 3DS because I was opening it and replacing a circle pad, and then I put the shell back on and I didn't notice that I snipped the ribbon cable for one of the shoulder buttons.
Oh no.
It's okay. It's fine.
But okay, you saved it?
No, I have to go buy a new part for it. It's like $10 on Amazon. No big deal.
Okay, fine. Fair.
Right. But you know what? I actually, as I bought this Portal, I thought about reshelling it, and I actually found a Spider-Man 2 themed shell. So you know how the Spider-Man 2 PS5 looks? And the controller, which is like half. Yeah. I'll send you the link for it after. It looks sick. It looks like the Spider-Man 2 controller.
Damn it. Okay, well, I'm stoked about the black colorways. Helldivers 2 controller, would that do anything for you? I think I'm kind of like special controllered out for this year between like the Astrobot one, the what's it called, the PlayStation 30th anniversary one.
Yeah,
I'm not like rushing to grab a Helldivers 2. I feel like it's too late. Like if this came out in like February alongside of the game, I would have got it.
I mean, yeah, I get that, but they also just put out a Fortnite controller.
That thing is one of the ugliest things I've ever fucking seen. It is atrocious.
I was ready to buy one for you actually the other day when I went to Best Buy. I saw it there. I'm like, I should buy this for Matt and just send it to him.
I hate that fucking control. I literally I have the blue one. It's the same shade of blue, just with stickers thrown on it. It's like they had too many blue controllers and they just friggin', tossed it on.
Absolutely.
I hate it. I hate it with my entire being. Okay, hold on. Denny just sent this. Let's pull this up real quick because it looks dope as hell.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, I'm doing too many things. Here we go. This looks sick. Like this straight up looked like they like cracked the PlayStation, the Spider-Man 2 controller.
Yeah.
And then just tossed it on.
Yeah. And if you look at the back, the white band that goes across the portal is black with a Spider-Man 2 logo. Like it's clean. And you have all the Sony markings still because it's actually on the bottom of the tablet. So it looks super official and it's like perfect.
Denny, you can't show me this shit.
I should definitely not send you the link on AliExpress then.
It's from AliExpress. Okay.
From AliExpress.
Now we're talking. I can spend $5. Yeah, we'll keep you posted if anything gets announced, but we'll find out. Let's roll on to the next story coming from the PlayStation blog themselves, because Shuhei Yoshida is officially moving on from PlayStation. I think he was currently the head of indies. He was the president, I believe, at one point in time. There's a huge interview here between Sid Schumann and so Shuhei, just like kind of looking back on his time with the company and a lot of stuff that he's done. For any like old school IGN Beyond listeners and kind of funny listeners, like Shuhei has been all over those platforms. He's always seemed like one of the warmest, kindest people out there. I actually share a birthday with him, not year, but date. And just I wanted to shout this out. I want to wish him all the best. Evidently, he's still staying in the industry. He's just moving on from his time with PlayStation. 31 years is a long time. So, Shu, if you ever listen to this, thank you for everything that you've done. You've been a fantastic, fantastic part of this industry. Again, the infamous, how do you share a PlayStation game? And he just passed it on. So many good things coming from this man's career. So just shout out to Shuhei Yoshida, a PlayStation icon. I just wanted to give him his flowers before he rides off into wherever he ends up next.
Absolutely.
Just one of the greats. All right. Couple major stories left to close things out on the news front here. PlayStation 2, coming from us over here at Console Creatures, has officially sold 160 million consoles. This was written up by Bobby the Don himself. There's a new web page celebrating PlayStation 30th anniversary. Since its launch in 2000, the PlayStation 2 has officially exceeded 160 million consoles sold worldwide, surpassing the previous record of 155 million. The Nintendo's DS and Switch are currently just behind at 154 and 146 million, respectively. I think this still gives it the highest selling. Is it still?
Yeah, it's still number one.
It's still number one.
Yeah.
Other numbers: PlayStation 102 million, the PSP over 80 million, PS3 87, PS4 at 117. So massive numbers across the board for PlayStation's catalog here. The PlayStation 2, man, I would not know where to buy one if I wanted to go find one. Like, I'm curious on how these numbers are calculated this deep into a console's time on the shelves, because it's like they're not finding new ones.
I don't think so. No.
So I'm so curious on how these numbers are calculated, because are they counting resales? Usually these numbers are sold through to consumer, but I don't think these things are still in production. Was it just leftover stock that was never, you know what I mean? How are these things being sold?
I would not be surprised, because I've learned about this a while ago. Video games are very expensive in South America.
Right. Yeah.
So consoles like the PS2 or even the Sega Genesis, through licensing agreements, still sell.
That's wild. Yeah, Bobby has it in this article. I missed it, but Sony shifted 5 million PS2 units 11 years after its last production. So this thing's been out of the game for a little while. So it must be just leftover stock. You know what I mean?
Could be, or maybe they've just never released official numbers, or they just recounted and just never launched release because it's just had such a lead. And only now, because the Switch is creeping up, they're like, let's just do a recount and hold our spot.
It's wild, dude. 160 million units is huge. I really do you think that the PS4 has a chance to catch up over the course of the next number of years? You don't think so?
Absolutely not. I don't think it can. I don't think it will.
Because the PS4 is sitting at 117.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's that far. I mean, it's another third, but
yeah, that's a lot of traction though. That's a lot to catch up on. Especially when you have your PS5. Right now, everyone's pushing a PS5. I don't remember the last time I've seen an actual PS4 for sale in a store.
Oh Lord, no! I have no idea when.
Right. And that's it. So I don't think they'll catch up. But you know what? I'm glad it is the PS2, and I kind of hope, maybe it's a hot take, I hope PS2 stays on the top spot, because for me, and again, just going back to nostalgia, some of my greatest memories are on that PS2.
Mm-hmm.
They had some of the best games, and they cranked out a lot of titles. And I think this was that perfect blend of, experimentation and short enough development cycles that you could get a lot of games coming out. You get a lot of good games coming out, right? There's always that joke that in one generation we got 3 Grand Theft Auto games, and then after that we got 1 Grand Theft Auto game across 3 generations,
Yeah,
right? So, I mean, I
dude,
hope it stays on the top spot.
that was just like the Wild West of,
Mhm.
of gaming, like that PS2, GameCube, original Xbox era. There was so much happening. There
Yeah.
was so many bad, awful games that hit, but like kind of were special in the midst of that era. Like how many licensing games did we get for
Oh, yeah.
like movies and like random shit? Like
All the SpongeBob games?
so much shovelware, but in that moment growing up through it, it was
Mhm.
magical because it was like no matter what you liked, there was a game that existed for that IP
Absolutely.
or for that type of game. Like there was so much there to like while like some of my fondest memories growing up would be go to like the local Rogers or Blockbuster and just
Yep.
wander the aisles and
Yep.
just like picking a game up I've never heard of before, just based off of the cover art in the box alone.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and there was some trash goddamn games we played back in the day,
Oh, yeah.
but at the same time, it was just so
It
special.
was different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, right now, if you get a trash game, everyone knows it's a trash game.
Well, that and it's like everybody knows it's a trash game, and it's just like there's no joy in playing it because
Nope.
how high the bar has been raised.
Exactly.
I feel like the band between truly great and truly terrible back in the day was not as wide as it is today. You
It's
know what I
one
mean?
story plot away.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't that far of a difference
Oh.
between like some of the best and some of the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's like, 75 football fields in between like The Last of Us Part 2 and that fucking Gollum game that came out. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not even the same conversation
No,
anymore.
it's not. It's really goes to show just, like, how far apart, like, how far along we've come, but, like, this was really, like, one of those great eras of gaming, you know?
Mhm,
For a sequel console, like, Sony knocked it out of the park.
mhm.
They did everything, almost everything right, I would say.
The DVD
Um,
player was like a
y
stroke of genius at the time.
exactly, and I think that's what really helped also solidify, because you know what? You've got
Mhm.
people now who aren't playing games, buying this thing because it's probably a cheaper alternative to a $500 DVD player,
100%. So being
right?
able to like use that in that way is just genius.
Exactly.
Let's roll into our second last story before the meat and potatoes, because and this was actually a pretty hefty story as well. This is once again coming from Console Creatures. This one was written up by was it Dennis? Yeah, it was Dennis, the homie, the one of the greats. Sony in talks to purchase Kadokawa, parent company of Elden Ring and Dark Souls developers. There's an update here. Well, I'm going to come down a little bit. Basically saying that there's acquisition talks going on between Kadokawa and Sony. Kadokawa owns like a whole bunch of stuff. They own the Dragon Ball Sparking Zero developer Spike Chunsoft, Mario and Luigi Brother developer Acquire, Gotcha Games. They own what's it called, FromSoft. So there's a lot here, and there Kadokawa also does quite a bit in like the anime space and across like manga and a lot here. Um, Games are just one side of Kadokawa's business here. Dennis writes, as the move for Sony's business would expand its place in the anime market following the acquisition of Funimation in 2017 and Crunchyroll in 2021, the company already has a strong position in the anime world, slightly ahead of Amazon and Netflix. Adding Kadokawa to the mix, its grip on the business becomes even tighter with the massive library of IP ranging from anime to manga to even films to add to Sony's already impressive collection. Some titles include ReZero, Overlord, Mushoku Tensei, Delicious in Dungeon, and others. Um, on top of the fact, and there was an update here that Dennis added saying that Kadokawa put out a statement basically saying that they're talking. Nothing's official as of yet, but this is big in a very specific way. Like speaking to the anime manga side, I really don't want Sony to have any sort of monopoly
Yep.
on this.
Yep.
They already got Funimation and they rolled it into Crunchyroll, and a lot of titles were lost in the process. Crunchyroll is a fantastic platform, don't get me wrong, but like I don't ever want all the eggs in one basket, and like Sony's stranglehold on the anime and manga market, and then furthering on into games, like they would have. I already think they do have a controlling interest in FromSoft. So Sony currently owns a 14.4% stake in FromSoft. Um, Kadokawa, if they bought Kadokawa, they would add a 69.6% interest. So Sony would
Wow.
own 84% of
Wow.
FromSoft, and the remaining 16 would be under 10 cents control, which like I'm sure that Sony would do its best to buy that remaining 16%. from Tencent and kind of own them outright, which would mean like again, the siloing of exclusives. PlayStation loves this game. PlayStation, Elden Ring, your Bloodborns, your Dark Souls. PlayStation is about its exclusives. It's it's still very much married to that narrative.
Yep.
So I can only imagine what it would look like if they bought Kadokawa. Spike Chunsoft again is a multi-platform developer. There's a lot of Nintendo smaller development teams like Acquire,
Yeah.
who
They
just made
did Mario
Brothership.
and Luigi.
Exactly. That Nintendo has deals with. What would all of this look like? I'm going to bring Ed Varnell in from the Boss Rush Network at that retro code because he has a question regarding this thing. So Sony and Kadokawa being in business talks feels like an opportunity or desperation. In your opinion, and he has a number of questions here, so I'm going to read them all out and then we'll kind of go through them. If it goes through, will it become a ZeniMax ordeal or reduce IPs, or could devs working outside with other companies and could it end devs working outside of other companies ending their work relationships? Could the FTC interfere like they did Microsoft and Activision? If they don't, will that make such the whole situation questionable? Denny, what do you think? Do you
That's
see
a lot
this
of
kind of?
questions.
So basically, starting off, do you
Yeah.
think that the FTC will get involved? Like, is this another
Well,
Microsoft EA, not Microsoft EA,
a
Microsoft
Microsoft
Activision
Activision.
situation? Yeah.
I don't know because I feel like there's a little bit more behind the Activision Blizzard thing. Um, but like I kind of like I don't like this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like it at
Me
all.
neither.
I've seen what happened with the whole Crunchyroll and Funimation situation with Sony, and they lost
Mm-hmm.
um some great anime. They didn't renew stuff. They lost licenses. Um, so that was handled very like it was a messy handle of the situation. Um, and just also with the way Sony has been with recent developers as well. If a game fails to meet expectations, right? Who's to say they're not ready to, swing the axe at them? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, they could acquire all of this, they could big it up, they could put stuff out, and something could not work, and we're just gonna see this really weird domino effect, and we're gonna lose a lot, I think, from it.
Mm-hmm. I think giving a lot of these companies having the flexibility to be multi-platform right now
Yeah,
and have their own kind of space, like Sparking Zero did
yeah.
super well. Would it have done that well as a PlayStation exclusive? I don't think
It's
so.
hard to say.
I don't think so. I don't think I'm so sure would have done well. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but the numbers that it put up on the board in the first 24 or 72 couple weeks
Mhm.
wouldn't have happened the same way.
No.
To your question, Ed, I don't see this being a problem. I don't think the FTC would give a shit about an anime manga Japanese company. I just don't think so. I think
Yeah.
Activision was a much more public and front facing thing here in the States, across Canada, across Europe.
Yep.
Kadokawa, while big in Japan and big for a lot of fans of the industry, is still a much more niche company when you're trying to compare it to a ZeniMax, to an Activision. So I don't think they would think twice about it. I don't think it would be on their radar. I think they would probably just kind of slide it through. It's Sony already owns
Mhm.
Crunchyroll stuff. I don't see them having the same level of issue. And you have to remember too, I feel like Sony really went to bat to try and stop that merger from happening.
Of course.
I don't know if Microsoft would.
No. I think for Microsoft, they'd be like, "Okay, cool." Because I think their direction is completely different now, right? Their
Exactly.
whole everything is an Xbox campaign.
Mhm.
Would they lose out on a few games? Yeah, probably. Maybe the sequel to Elden Ring or the next Soulsborne game. Well, it may not be on Xbox, but who knows? Like, like the only thing I hope is maybe they don't do a staggered release type schedule where your PS5 or PS6 gets it first, and then a year later it comes out on PC.
And I wonder how much of this could be like Sony gathering bargaining chips, because like we know how much Microsoft has in their stable, and I
Yep.
feel like while all of this was happening initially, part of the conversation was, is Call of Duty going to go exclusive? X Y or Z going to go exclusive? Microsoft doesn't care anymore.
Mhm.
Clearly, it's
Mhm.
bringing everything to everywhere. So I wonder if part of this is Sony just having the cards in the back of their pocket in case Microsoft ever decides to shift direction again. They could be like, well, do you want the next Elden Ring on Xbox? Because the PS5 is an Xbox now. Everything's an Xbox.
Yeah.
I feel like part of it could just be, business maneuvering. Um, I just think it makes sense from a business standpoint, given Sony's stable of
Yep.
games of its anime and manga stuff. I don't like it though.
Yeah.
I don't
Me
I don't
neither.
I don't I want them to have their freedom to do whatever they want because, like we've seen in the last number of years, all it takes is one bad game.
Yep.
And people lose their jobs.
Yep. It's funny you mention a business from a business standpoint, because there's a line at the end of the paragraph there where they kind of say like Sony is a Japanese based company and the only in-house developer they have is, you know, a team of Asobi, sorry. Right. So maybe this is just them trying to find a way to appeal to more Japanese people and be like, hey, we're still a Japanese company. Look at all of these developers we have.
They just fucking closed Japan studio in the last couple of years. Like they had a prolific, long-running developer that did good quality stuff.
Yep.
And they axed it. So that's why it's just like I worry for the stable of developers that they would bring in. I worry for the production anime production companies that this would entail. Like this does make me nervous.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? Unfortunately, it makes a lot of sense. Will it happen or not is a different conversation, but this does make me nervous more so than anything close to resembling excited.
Yeah, we're all gonna be kind of like wait and see, I suppose, and just see what happens.
Well, especially because I feel like the gaming landscape is set to shift drastically over the course of the next decade.
Oh yeah.
Given how Microsoft is now playing the everything everywhere game, Nintendo gearing up with the Switch 2, which is going to bring it closer to parity to current gen than it ever has been. You know what I mean? Like Nintendo has always felt like that kid over there doing its own thing. Like everybody likes that kid, but nobody hangs out with that kid. You know, nobody's in competition with that kid.
Yeah.
And PlayStation and Xbox were like, you know, fighting on the playground, and PlayStation's won. So it's like, is Nintendo versus PlayStation going to be the next running narrative as Nintendo starts to become a more graphically prevalent force? You know what I mean? Or is PlayStation just going to be left unchecked to do whatever they want?
I think you're right. I think it is going to become Sony versus Nintendo. And the only reason why is because Nintendo cares more about fun and cares more about that. Because I think I read a rumor somewhere that or a thing that the new Switch is going to be unveiled and it's going to be like $400. And they even said like right now we're going to basically make sure that it can't be scalped. We're just going to make so many of them, like the production's going to run nonstop, that there's no incentive or no kind of like shortage. And like if we go back to talking about that article about Sony selling 160 million PS2 consoles, that's a console from the early 2000s. The Switch is a console from the late 2010s.
Yep.
And it is like right
not far off.
Heels,
yeah.
Right. So you have to think that, you know, Nintendo's strategy has put more consoles in people's hands. And that's what you need to worry about, because now if the decision is going to be Nintendo or PlayStation, right? What are you going to pick? You're probably going to pick the cheaper one, the more portable one, the one that has the more fun games. Hey, we know Mario and Luigi. What the hell is Helldivers? Right?
It's a salient point because I think it's also one. I think Nintendo has also learned over the course of the Switch generation, regardless of how successful it's been. I think they've also realized they need third party, and they need the third party experiences that you can find elsewhere. Because from all the rumors about the Switch 2, it seems like it's going to be like PS4 Pro-ish strength. There's going to pack a punch comparatively to the OG Switch. So I'm curious on how all this is going to continue to shape and shift over the next little while, because Xbox took itself out of the race. And is PlayStation going to continue to ignore Nintendo, or is this going to be more of a battle moving forward? Because something has to be in place to keep PlayStation in check. And I'd be saying the same thing if PlayStation had lost and this was Microsoft winning. It's not a bias towards anything, but any form of competition
is good. Oh yeah.
Let's roll on to our final big old story, because kind of building off of the conversation that we're actually having, this is a great way to loop this in. Coming from, once again, Console Creatures, this was by Dennis once again. Sony is reportedly working on a new PS5 handheld. Playing current gen PlayStation games natively on the go might no longer be a dream. When Sony first launched the PlayStation Portal, the company didn't know how well the PS5 remote play device would perform, but it exceeded internal sales expectations. According to Bloomberg, Sony is currently developing an actual PS5 handheld, allowing PlayStation players to play their library of current-gen games natively on a handheld. Xbox is also talking about the same thing. So this is an interesting story here.
Yeah.
Because I need to give the Switch flowers, followed by the Steam Deck, because these two pieces of hardware is why they're even entertaining a new PlayStation, like a new PlayStation portable that isn't a portal. You know what I mean? Like if the Steam Deck hadn't hit after the success of the Switch, this wouldn't be a conversation. Now you have Microsoft and PlayStation genuinely looking to get into the game, which is really, really, really interesting. And why I'm curious again, if we're starting to have a conversation about this theoretical battle between PlayStation and Nintendo down the road, if PlayStation does have a $400, $500 portable gaming device that you don't need a PlayStation for, what does that look like? You know, Nintendo, the Switch had the Field when it came out. Nobody was talking about handhelds anymore. This wasn't a conversation.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, handheld gaming is back. The ROG Ally, the Lenovo Go, the Steam Deck. There is so much here that has put this back into players' hands. So, Denny,
yes,
what does a new PlayStation Portable need to do to get you in day one?
First of all, it needs to have an awesome name, and I'm throwing this out there. It needs to be called the PS5 Go.
I hate it so much.
I know you
but it works.
It does, right? Throw it back to the PSP Go. We'll call it the PS5 Go.
Okay.
So now you have your PS5, your PS5 Pro, and the PS5 Go. Sony, hire me for marketing. Get in there.
Yep. His number is.
We'll flash it on the screen later. Okay. The biggest thing it needs to have for me is it needs to have killer battery life.
What is that? What is killer battery life to you?
More than 4 hours of playtime.
Okay.
Right. I think that's a big ask because I think they're obviously going to want to keep it in their design philosophy for PlayStation 5. And those consoles are not exactly small. And cooling is going to be important as well, right? Like I feel like there's a lot to unpack here and there's a lot that needs to be done. So like I feel like Sony really needs to come out and talk about how they're trying to maintain the device without it overheating, without having, because you could put a fan in it, but even any fan you put in there is going to be tiny. And they really need to just harken back to that. Like, I mean, you could probably now in this day and age, now that the PS5 has been out for just a little over 4 years now, you could probably find a way to make it more compact, make it smaller, right? But you just need to make sure that thermals are good, battery life is good, because you don't want this to be a fiasco.
And I think that's kind of where my biggest question comes, is that there's already this running narrative when you're looking at the current console landscape that the Xbox Series S has held a lot of these games back, right? Yep. It's held back games you've had to make SKUs across multiple different systems at multiple different points of graphical output and power.
Even I think Baldur's Gate 3 said that they can't even play on an S. You have to play it on an X.
Because of split screen, the S couldn't handle it. So it was a thing that they it released so much later on Xbox because of the issues with the S. The S is a fantastic console, don't get me wrong, but it has impacted the lay of the land as it currently stands. It just has.
Yep.
So how does a PlayStation 5 Go,
thank you, patent pending,
impact development plans moving forward? And that is my question here, is that like, to have a lot of these games theoretically work day and date across a PS5, a PS5 Pro, and then a PS5 Go, what does this sliding scale look like? Does development time get longer now that you're developing across multiple different thresholds? Does the pricing change? Like what does all this look like? Because the Steam Deck has it kind of built into the Switch as well. Switch performance is what performance is. They only have to worry about the Switch. That is a singular thing that they have to worry about.
I think with new, like, I think what you have to do is you develop to the lowest common denominator. So if you're gonna put out a Switch version, I think you port that over to the PS5 Go if it's not gonna match your PS5, your base PS5 spec for spec.
But do you think they can do that? Do you think that they can match the PS5 specs for spec and shrink it
I
into a
mean,
handheld?
I don't know, and that's the thing, like, unless they found a way to shrink that APU so much further down, or else how big is this thing gonna be, right? Like, a Switch has what, like a 7-inch screen on it?
Mhm.
I don't even know how big the screen is on the Portal, but I feel like my Portal alone is bigger than the Switch.
I think it's 7 or 8.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's gonna be tough, so I think they're gonna have to make some sacrifices, they're gonna have to make a few they're gonna have to cut a few corners. I think you're gonna have a different SKU for your PS5 portable if they can't cram PS5 hardware into a portable unit. And I think what you do is you take a look at what Nintendo's doing, they have the NVIDIA Tegra processor, whatever it is.
Mhm.
I don't know what the new one has, but it might be just an updated one. And you develop for that, and I think you have a second SKU. You have that SKU, and then it's gonna be kind of like if the Switch 2 is gonna have the power of a PlayStation 4 Pro,
Mhm.
right? You develop to that, and you kind of it's just gonna be a different thing, a different SKU, like you said, and maybe they do some sort of upgrade path so that you can have the game crossplay, or like you can have your PS5 version and a dumbed down version for your portable.
See, I guess that's my question though. Is that going to hamper the console experience? That's what
Absolutely.
right?
Because
Theoretically, it would.
they
Again,
would, because they've tried this before with PS3 and PS Vita.
Mhm.
Right? You had
Yeah,
your PS3 game, and then you had a PS Vita version, right? And the experience on the Vita was not bad, but it wasn't the same as a PS3, and you had to buy both games. Very few games were like, well, if you have the PS3, you can. I don't think any of them said you could get like a Vita version for free.
I don't think so, which better not be the fucking case.
Yeah,
If this
that would suck.
in this and it, like you have to also keep in mind that like this thing is importantly early in its in its prototyping and it's kind of in its outroll. So this is at minimum you would think 3 years out,
Yeah,
right? I don't think you would be able to hit it in stores any sooner than that. And that's if this thing
2026 would be a miracle.
straight up miracle.
Yeah,
So then you're looking at a PS6 theoretically on the horizon.
yeah,
So again, like I'm curious. Nagachaka writes in with a question about this, saying, "Rumor has it the PlayStation is working on a portable device that natively plays PS5 games, and if so, is this something you're excited about? Obviously, we both are. And
yeah.
here's the kicker question: how much do you think it would cost?
Hmm. I think it'd be the same as a disc PS5.
You think so?
Yeah. Because my thought process here is let's say you go with the same internals, you already have the controller components. You probably throw in a similar SSD in there, and you're basically changing out the disk drive for a screen.
Interesting.
And
So you think this thing would be like $600 Canadian,
probably,
$500 US, give
yeah,
or take?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Interesting. I don't think you're too far off base.
No. Because
On-
how much is an ROG Ally right now? I think is like almost $1,000.
yeah, yeah.
Right? The
Mhm.
Steam Deck, I don't know. I think if you want one with high enough storage capacity,
It's sits in that kind of
yeah,
500 to 700 depending on storage that you're looking at.
exactly,
But again, that's also a multi-year old device now. You know what I
for
mean? Like
sure.
when I got my launch Steam Deck and I got the biggest thing, it was like $900 after tax.
Yeah.
So I think comparative, and I think the biggest question here still remains when. Because theoretically, in 3 or 4 years, if that's how long it takes for this thing to materialize and hit shelves, these components would be cheaper by that
Mhm,
time.
for
But
sure.
at the same time, you are now pulling in a new console generation to worry about.
That makes it so messy because now
And
you
if
have to worry about PS5 versions, PS6 versions. Do you have to worry about a PS5
PS5
portable
Pro
version?
version, PS5
Yep.
Pro version, there's enough here on a sliding scale that like, and I'm an idiot. Okay, so correct, like I don't know how much of this is like, do they shift development to be more like PC? Because obviously with PC, right, you have enough options so that a game can run across a suite of different cards, a suite of different things. You can turn this option on or off. You have shadows on or off. You can do this, that, or the other, change the resolution, do whatever you need to do to make this thing work. It's why a Steam Deck will play games to a varying degree, asterisk, that a PC can handle better or whatever. It's like, is that an option to be
Yeah.
able to do this? You know what I mean?
You know, as you say that, I think about this out loud. Or I shouldn't say I think about this out loud, but as you said that, I thought, like right now, if you go into a store and you buy a copy of because Rice is not here, Dragon's Dogma 2, right?
Yeah.
You can pop that in your PS5 and play it no problem. You
Mhm.
can pop it in your PS5 Pro and you will get an enhanced version,
Mhm.
right? When you go and buy for this example sake, let's say you buy it digitally.
Mhm.
Does this mean if you buy it digitally, there is something there that sets off a dehanced version maybe for a portable? It just knows that you're on lesser hardware
Mhm.
and adjusts the settings. Because just like again, there's a patch for PS5 Pro that can enhance the settings.
Mhm.
So is that what we're looking at now? Is one SKU with just some sort of flag that recognizes the hardware that you're on and kind of adjusts the game to give you the experience appropriately?
Mhm. And also, like, a question that I think is interesting is, do you get PS5 Go exclusive titles theoretically? Right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, for
I
sure.
but that's the interesting thing though, right? With the Switch, the title that you buy works handheld or dock. There's no other thing to worry about. On PC, you buy a game, this thing works everywhere. I think it would get into really murky waters if they
Yeah.
start talking about exclusives. Because then again, if your PS5 Go can run it, why couldn't your PS5?
Well, maybe they can. Like they've done this before. You remember PSP minis?
Yeah.
Right?
But that was like the that was like Wild West era. Like
Right.
like handhelds were still a thing back
Yeah.
then. That was they were their own thing, right?
And like you said, they're coming back though. So this could be a way. You know what? Crazy idea. What if they totally ripped off the Switch and this could be a PS5 that you could dock? And then all of a sudden now you have
It's
a
interesting.
PS5.
It's interesting.
Let's see what happens.
Because theoretically, like, what would stop you from plugging in a USB-C to HDMI adapter
Yeah,
and not casting this to the TV? You can do it with the Steam Deck.
exactly.
I'm very, very curious because I feel like this would be the first, whether it's Microsoft at the gate first or PlayStation, this would be the first time that we're seeing a console manufacturer make a handheld an accompaniment to a dedicated console. Because again,
Yeah,
the Switch is its own thing. It's both, and
it's a
that is
hybrid.
it is both by design.
Yeah.
I'm very, very curious what this will look like. Folks, let us know. Is like, are you excited? Like, what do you want from this thing? Would this be a day one thing? Because for me, obviously, once it's unveiled, maybe I'll talk shit, and then it's gonna come out, and I'll be outside of the GameStop early to pick it up day and date because everybody knows me. I'm a shill. I will be there
I'll
no
bring you
matter.
coffee.
Denny and I are gonna hang out, have coffee, and then just wait for this thing to drop.
Yeah.
And then we'll buy it, return it, and then get the open box, each other's copies of the open box thing for
Hey.
significantly less. Bam, bam. Our final question comes from Jake Steinberg. What's up, Jakey boy? Saying, I know we are in the grateful season, but I want to know what people are taking for granted on PlayStation. I gotta say, it's the DualSense haptic triggers. That shit rules, and we should embrace it. What do you think gamers are not grateful enough? What are they taking for granted when it comes to the PlayStation?
Shit.
I think Jake's spot on.
Mhm.
Like, it's the DualSense.
Well,
Like, period.
oh yeah.
Period.
We've talked about it though. Like when a game uses it,
Mm-hmm.
it's night and day for experience.
Mm-hmm.
When it uses it well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. You know what? I don't think enough people, and I'm just gonna say this now because I have used it a lot actually over the last little while, like using it on my phone and tablets and now my portal. I don't think people realize how great it is to have remote play.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I am grateful for remote play because sometimes you can't have the TV to yourself. Sometimes you have a partner who's watching Love is Blind on its 7th season. I can't believe that. And you don't want to watch it, so you pop on, you play remotely, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a win, and it's an idea we've had for a while, like since the Wii U, but it's never really been implemented and worked across everything
Mm-hmm.
the way it has on Sony. So kudos, Sony. I'm grateful for that. And I really hope people like. I mean, I think there are people who are enjoying it because obviously the portal is selling. But I just feel like maybe not everyone is taking enough advantage of it.
Yeah, people are taking it for granted 100%. And I do feel that part of it is just because I feel like when it initially launched, it wasn't the best it could be. But again,
Mhm.
that was a long time ago. And I feel like people never really shook that taste out of their mouth.
Yep.
That I feel like nowadays, yeah, like again, I remote play on my Steam Deck, and most of the time it works really, really well. So
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
people do take that for granted. I think people are taking the PSVR 2 for granted. Flat out, full stop. The
Yep.
PSVR 2, and you know what? I think Sony takes it for granted. Like straight up, the
It's
fact that it has like it is still the best feeling and best looking, in my opinion, VR headset stranded on a console that does not get supported enough. There aren't enough PSVR 2 games. I don't care how many there are. I know that there's a lot of fantastic experiences here. Don't get me wrong. But we don't have PlayStation backing it. We don't have gamers going out here and buying this. And part of that's on PlayStation. Maybe people feel differently if PlayStation rolled out the red carpet and had enough software here to back it entirely. And I'm talking first party software. The PSVR 2 in its tech feels great. The controllers are fantastic. There's so much packed in here that works so well that, people sleep on it and people shit on it, and partially rightfully so because of the software lineup that Sony doesn't bring to the table. But the hardware is immaculate.
So I have a question for you then.
Mm,
Because when the PSVR 2 came out, I remember scoffing at it
mhm,
and being like, why would I buy this when I can go get like a Meta Quest for half the price?
mhm.
Now, I believe because of Black Friday, a PSVR 2 is like a little under 500 bucks.
Mhm.
Do you think that that would be enough to move it off of store shelves?
I don't think it would be enough without Sony investing in the software. Again, I think the narrative has become there are no games on PSVR 2, and that is far from the case. There is a fantastic amount of incredible titles that are there for you to play, but they are the vast majority of them are
Mhm.
not first party IP that is recognizable and players know. Without that, why would you?
Yeah.
That's exactly the question. Why would you? If I can play
Yeah.
Batman Arkham Shadow on my Meta Quest 3 while also being able to stream Game Pass, while also being able to do remote play, while having so much added capability, why would I go out and
Yeah.
get a PSVR 2 when Sony doesn't even take it, like when Sony takes it for granted?
Yeah.
So if there was an Uncharted VR, if there was a Last of Us VR, if there was a God of War VR, if these experiences existed,
Mhm.
then at any price point, this thing would fly off the shelves because there's IP that people know and love and that is there,
Yeah.
but it's not.
No, you're right.
So people
I'm
sleep on it because
I
again, the PSVR 2 still insanely more comfortable than the Meta Quest 3.
yeah.
Its form factor unbelievably more comfortable. And again, part of that is that the Meta Quest 3 obviously has a battery rammed into it, but the PSVR 2 is so much better to use and so much more comfortable to use and has better controllers. But PlayStation doesn't support it, so why would gamers? So I
Yeah.
think people are taking it for granted because this isn't a thing where like, oh, the hardware's all right, the software is not there, so whatever.
Yeah.
It's fantastic hardware.
Yeah. You're right. I think you're right. I as you've been talking, I've gone in and looked at kind of like the titles that are on the PSVR 2, and honestly, the only like one that's caught my eye and I'd be like, "Ooh, I'd play this," is Gran Turismo 7.
Gran Turismo 7, Synapse, Walkabout Mini Golf. And again, a lot of the things because these are third-party things coming, a lot of them are already on MetaQuest as well or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
And like how is Assassin's Creed not on here? But it's on MetaQuest.
Exactly.
How is Batman on here? But it's not on it's on MetaQuest, but not on here. And I know part of that's is exclusivity with Oculus, but like um it's
Yeah.
slept on. It is criminally slept on, my dude. But that brings us to the end of this week's show. Denny, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
My
Where can people
pleasure.
find you on this world wide web of ours?
They can find me on Instagram. They can find me on Twitch. They can find me on YouTube. They can obviously find me here. Yeah, Linktree/Denerican Gaming.
Go find Denny in all the spots. Of course, you can find myself here on Console Creatures and over on butwhythough.net for all of my words. Come hang out with us in the Discord. Come hang out with us on Bluesky. Bluesky is popping off. It is what Twitter used to be. So come
Still
hang out with us on Bluesky. Still hang out. Come find us there. You can find me at Matt Silverstone in all the places. That brings us to the end of the episode. Everyone, be well, be safe. We will catch you back next week. Peace and love.